Morning, Fed Phoenix fam. Um, I got like 23 days and 20 something hours, so basically 24 days until I self-surrender. Um, I just wanted to do a video real quick and check in with y'all. I'm definitely using as much of this time as possible, to prepare, particularly prepare my loved ones, I'm trying to do more quality time with my kids and those close to me. Getting ready, buckling down and getting ready. So let me tell y'all a few of the latest, I don't even want to say developments, but the latest in my journey. As you know, it's mid-November, and so of course this time of year all the Christmas stuff is in stores, right? Now, they always have like the gift sets, right? Like the Dove, like shampoo, body wash, and body scrub gift sets for like $10. You get like $15, $20 worth of hygiene products. And usually every year I really buy a lot of those this time of year because then throughout the rest of the year, I'm well stocked more often than not, and then of course I shop sales and stuff throughout the year. Um, and so to kind of do my best bougie on a budget. But this year, it's just so conflicting for me because on one hand, I'm like, ooh, I should get this stuff. And I'm thinking, I Googled it, it'll all be fine to use in a couple years when I come home. But the reality is that $10 gift set is probably better for me to just hold on to the $10 and put it on my books, you know? And so I'm really kind of torn sometimes, especially now when there are a lot of things on sale. I lost my home and the majority of our materialistic possessions, through this process. And so part of me really wants to buy things now that they're on sale for when I come home, for when I get my next apartment. But then, that's kind of like the impulsive part of me. But then, the more logical part of me is like, don't do it. When you come home, you'll figure it out. You always figure things out. And right now, financially, your focus needs to be your commissary account. So that's kind of like a little thing that I struggle with a lot. And then interestingly enough, if you go to the BOP's page, the address for Outerson, the federal prison camp I'm going to, it doesn't have a number before the street. Like, your addresses are usually like 101 Market Street. But instead it just says Glen Ray Road, Box A, or Glen Ray Road. And that's confusing to me because why is there not a number before the street? And then I did some more digging, and in the Outerson Inmate Handbook, it actually says to have people send you mail to Outerson, West Virginia, P.O. Box A, and then your housing number and your unit number, which of course none of that will be known until after I get to prison, after I go through the 3 to 6 week quarantine process, and then get in general population. So I've been asking people in the Outerson Facebook group, like, what address do people send mail to? And it seems like the consensus is pretty much, my name, my inmate number, and then P.O. Box A is an Apple, Outerson, West Virginia, and the zip code. So, that's been interesting, kind of sorting that out. And then another thing, I had sent a couple money orders to the federal lockbox to go to my commissary account, but I messed up. I sent them with my name and my inmate number and then the address and stuff. But yesterday online, I was looking at some things, and actually I should have put Federal Bureau of Prisons, then my name and inmate number, and then the address. And so I'm really kind of anxious about, are those actually going to get processed because they weren't addressed properly? Or are they going to get sent back? Are they going to get sent back to me before I go to prison in time for me to send them back? They're not going to write on the money orders, I would hope. Or, I'm just really anxious about that whole situation, that I may have somehow, lost this money, that was pretty significant, to my situation. And then medically, I had a tear in my abdominal wall that I had fixed a couple months ago. Well, my abdominal wall has ripped open again. It's not like your skin on the outside, but like the muscles on the inside. And I see my surgeon yesterday. I'm getting a CT scan with contrast in like 8 or 9 days. But he said that I will very likely need another abdominal wall surgery. And I'm really concerned about if I get this right before going into prison, I'm going to be recovering from surgery in prison and in the quarantine unit. You know, everyone knows that MRSA and stuff is a lot more common in prisons. Everyone knows that medical care is very subpar in prisons. So, you know, but then again, until we get the results of the CT scan, I'm not going to know if this is something that I can just kind of be careful about and let slide for the next couple years and deal with when I come home, or if I'm going to need to deal with it before I go in. And if I'm going to go into prison, a week or so fresh out of surgery, and will they let me have my compression garment that I need to wear after surgery, or will they take that, that's necessary to the proper healing, of the surgery. I get epidural injections in my back because my back and my knees give me chronic pain. And I had some scheduled for tomorrow, actually. And I got a thing from my insurance saying payment was approved, everything's good. Well, then a couple days ago, I got a letter from my insurance saying they're not paying for it because my doctor failed to submit some kind of paperwork. So now I'm like really worried, like, is this really going to happen tomorrow? I left a message with my doctor's office. I'm waiting for a call back. If they got to redo all, put all the paperwork back through, will there be time for this to get done before I go into prison? Because my back pain is back. And without these injections, standing in one place for like 10 minutes or more puts me in an incredible amount of pain, to the point that I'm like leaning on walls and stuff because I'm trying to hold myself up. And that may be my condition, and fresh out of surgery, entering into the prison system. So I'm really concerned about some of the medical aspects of my situation right now. Yeah. I do call, I was calling the prison, to talk to the people in receiving and discharge like once a week with a bunch of random questions. But I've decided I'm just going to compile a list and do the best I can with the resources I have available, like that Facebook group for Alderson families, to try to figure out whatever answers I can now. And I'm just going to keep this list and try to, get the answers worked out without calling the prison. And then about 2 weeks before I go in, which is like 10 days from now, I'll actually call with whatever's remaining on the list that I haven't been able to get answers to. And just a reminder for those of you self-surrendering, you want to call your prison about 3 business days prior to your self-surrender and speak to somebody in receiving and discharge and make sure that Grand Prairie sent over your paperwork. It is not terribly uncommon that people self-surrender to federal prison, and when they get there, the prison doesn't have their paperwork. So now, more often than not, you got to kind of be put in the shoe for a day, maybe a weekend, maybe a couple days, while they're getting all your paperwork together. So you can avoid that by making sure they have your paperwork. Now, if they say, hey, we don't got nothing on you, we don't got your paperwork, this doesn't mean that you fell through the cracks and you're not going to prison. This means you need to be blowing up the phones of Grand Prairie. You need to contact your PO. You need to contact your lawyer. And you need to say, hey, the prison doesn't have my paperwork. How can we make this happen? And really kind of be the squeaky wheel. The old saying, the squeaky wheel is the one that gets the grease. So sometimes you got to just really squeak it up. But, your paperwork being there when you get there to self-surrender will save you and the employees a crap load of hassle. So you really want to, since you're in a position to get that sorted out ahead of time, sort that out ahead of time. Another thing, for those of you self-surrendering, a little idea I'd like to throw out. A good friend of mine said that, for reasons that are personal to her that I'm not going to get into, but she purchased off Amazon some like stuffed animals, like teddy bears, and they come with a little voice box thing. And you can record like a 30-second message on the voice box, and you put it in the bear and you sew it up and you gift it. You know what I mean? And then every time the person squeezes the bear, it plays this 30-second message from you. And I decided this is a really cool idea, for people self-surrendering to prison, particularly those of you with children, or maybe a spouse, or maybe, elderly parents, particularly those with dementia, or maybe a best friend, But I'm going to do this for a few people in my life, put these together. I already got the voice boxes. I actually found out that I can order the voice boxes off Walmart.com fairly cheap in sets of 2. And then I'm just going to go to like Dollar Tree and get like a $1 stuffed animal. You know what I mean? Because the stuffed animal really isn't that relevant. It's kind of just a vessel. And I'll just cut the seams, put the voice box in, sew her up, and boom, ready to go. That way you can kind of do it on a budget. That would be a lot cheaper than like ordering them off of Amazon. Little more work, but a lot cheaper. But I think it's a really nice idea, particularly like if you have small children and maybe every night you tell them good night, when they go to bed, you can record a 30-second message of you telling them good night and you love them, that kind of thing. And give them this bear before you go in, or have your spouse, or, give them the bear for you after you're in. And then every night they can still have that consistency from you. And I think that's a beautiful gesture. I think that's brilliant, quite frankly. So that's a little idea, a little suggestion for those of you getting ready to self-surrender that may be helpful. And mentally, I think I'm in an okay place. I know that right now, the federal prison camp I'm going to is having some complications, to say the least, between the COVID thing and some commissary issues and a lack of basic clothing even, for the inmates. But, I'm trying to focus on the positive. I'm trying to make that my focus. So to me, I'm just like, heck, when I leave in 2 years, I can be like, hey, I was here for the commissary drought of 2021. You know what I mean? Because, most things with time will get resolved. They will get sorted. And, just know that if you happen to show up at a time where things are kind of, abnormally crazy, that's okay. That's okay. You're about to be forged in the fire, but, when it passes, you'll have that experience and it'll be over with. It is a slice of your life, as is everything. And another thing I found interesting too is I was going to actually order a few books for myself, and to mail, like the day before I self-surrender, order a few books and off Walmart.com to be sent to me. But I was actually going to order 5 books specifically. But I was reading the Alderson Inmate Handbook, which I strongly advise. You can find it online. It costs you nothing. It's a PDF. If you know what prison you're going to, start looking over and getting familiar with the Inmate Handbook. Now, we all know that all the rules and procedures are not going to be followed all the time to perfection. I mean, it is what it is. But the more you're familiar with this, I think the more you'll be able to comfortably adjust and adapt to the new environment and the expectations in that environment. But there's a limit of 5 books and 5 magazines per inmate at Alderson. So I decided what I'm going to do is I'm just going to send myself like 2 books and like 2 magazines. And then that way, if my loved ones send in books and magazines, I still have plenty of opportunity to read and reread as many times as I want or I can. The literature that I sent into myself before I have to start reducing the amount of literature I own to be within regulation. So definitely familiarize yourself with all of that stuff. And like most of I have a Facebook page, Audrey's Incarceration Journey. Feel free to, it's a private group, but I'm pretty sure you can find it if you look that up on Facebook. I'd be more than happy to add any of you to it. But I don't know if I would really know it was you, though. Maybe send me a message on Facebook and let me know that it's you. You know what I mean? Before you send the request to join, because it is a private group, and I do keep it down to a very small community of people because it's very personal. But and my Facebook, of course, is Audrey Thompson. Audrey M is in May. Thompson, actually. There are 2 Audrey Thompsons in my area. Me and another one. The other one's a little bit younger. Beautiful girl. Just had her first baby recently. I wish her all the best. So hers is Audrey Thompson. Mine is Audrey M. Thompson. But, and of course my profile picture is me. You'll be able to know who it is. But, within my incarceration group, I have screenshotted, off Walmart.com, these are, if you'd like to send me a book, these are some books I would really like to read or reread. I have another post of magazines, from a magazine site. These are some magazine subscriptions that'd be really cool, if you want to, to my friends and family, if you want to send me a magazine subscription. Like, there may be times where people in your life want to be supportive. They want to, they're thinking of you and they want to do a little something for you, but they just don't know what to do or how to do it, And I think by having like a social media group, and keep it private, that specifically kind of paves a path, a very clear step-by-step for people to be supportive, I think you'll be more likely to get support while you're incarcerated. And also this creates one centralized spot where my friends and my family, if I just cross their mind and they're like, dang, I wonder how she's doing, they can go in this Facebook group and get, know the most recent updates. And I made a good friend of mine an admin of the group. So while I'm gone in prison, posts can still be made, posts can be updates, there'll be updates on my situation posted, that kind of thing. And so I think it's a really helpful tool to help your loved ones navigate this process. And I strongly recommend you do the same if you're comfortable doing so. I'm a rather private person in general. Obviously the situation has really stripped away, the option or the being very realistic about having much privacy. But, I definitely suggest keep it a private group or a secret group. Just people that you're comfortable having in your business to a degree. But having said all that, if you like the video, feel free to subscribe, hit notifications if you want to see new content when it drops. As you all know, I'll be going to prison in about 23 days. And, and I won't be able to comment or post new material at that point. However, once I'm in the halfway house, or if I decide to not do halfway house once I'm home, you guys know I've kind of been back and forth on whether I'm even going to do halfway house time or not. But I'll start updating, with new videos on this channel of just what my journey was like in prison, my experience, and what my experience is like with re-entry and kind of putting my life back together. So I hope y'all are having a great day. And remember, no matter what you're going through, this is just a slice of your life. That's it. No more, no less. And you will get through it because you have to. So good day. God bless. And I will holler at y'all probably in about a week.